Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and here is the first card I made with the newest card kit from Simon Says Stamp. This is the September 2016 card kit, and I started off with some Tim Holtz Distress watercolor cardstock. I didn't want to use just the white cards from the kit. I wanted something that was meant a little more for watercoloring, so I just pulled out a piece of that. And I have one of the rectangle dies from Simon Says Basic Rectangle Sets. You could totally do this without the dies. I just am kind of obsessed with them and I like to use them on everything. So I traced out the die I planned on using onto this distress watercolor cardstock with a pencil, just so I could see where the line is going to be when it cuts. And then I left that off because I wasn't 100% sure what I was doing. As usual, I'm just playing around, doing my things, seeing what works and what doesn't. And in the stamp set that comes in the kit, this is the It's No Secret stamp set. There are 2 balloon images. So I started stamping them with some distress ink, and then I smushed those same colors of distress ink onto an acrylic block, and then I was just picking up the color with my little detail water brush and kind of painting over them and making them look a little bit more watercolored, evening out the color a little bit more, and just having fun with it. So I chose 3 colors that kind of matched the colors of the kit and the papers. So I'm using tumbled glass, squeezed lemonade, and spun sugar distress inks. So I just stamped those multiple times onto this piece of distress watercolor paper. So I stamped them all along the top. And I had set the large happy birthday sentiment because I was planning on stamping that at the bottom. So I just wanted to kind of give space between the balloons and the actual sentiment. So once I was happy with the balloons, I'm inking the sentiment up with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. And I'm stamping that along the bottom of where I'm going to die cut. And then for the balloon strings, there's this fun little stamp that also comes in the set that's got the little knot and bow and then the string itself. And I just tested it onto the side of the cardstock here because I knew this was going to get cut off anyway. And I'm just using some weathered wood distress ink as well. I wanted to make sure that it looked how I was picturing in my head. I didn't want to stamp the strings in black because I didn't want them to overpower the sentiment. So I'm just stamping them with that weathered wood distress ink, and on the areas where the string was going to go over the sentiment, I just wiped that away with my finger before stamping it because I didn't want the strings going over the sentiment. I just wanted them to basically look as if the balloons were just hanging there. So stamped all of those, and then I wanted to add a teeny bit of splatter, so I smushed my tumbled glass onto my acrylic block again. And then just pressed a little bit of water from my water brush and then flipped the water brush against the acrylic block to create a bit of splatter. And then once that was dry, I'm going to finally die cut this with that same die I had traced around. So I taped the die into place first, just with some micropore tape to make sure that I've got everything lined up and I don't end up die cutting this crooked since I've got a sentiment and everything on it. So ran that through my machine first and completely die cut that. And then I grabbed one of the pattern papers that comes in the kit. I'm going to die cut that as well with the second largest die from the Basic Rectangle set. And while I was at it, I thought rather than waste the center of the paper, I used one of the smaller rectangle dies. You could also use your paper cutter. I've shown this in videos. It's been quite a while, but I used to show this in videos. It's a great way to conserve if you have favorite pattern papers or if you don't have a lot of cardstock, that sort of thing. Since you're layering, you're not going to see the center area, so you can totally cut or die cut those out and use them on other projects. So that's what I did here. I die cut that center piece and then set it aside so I can use it on something else, because all I really need is the outside edge, because that's all that's going to be seen when I layer this card together. So you can see the happy birthday panel is going to completely cover up the center, so you're not going to be able to tell that it's missing. So I did that, and then I wanted to add just a little border of black cardstock around this. I just thought the black would pop with the sentiment. So for this, I just used my paper trimmer because I didn't have a die that was, just a tiny bit bigger than this. So I always eyeball it. I used to get asked this all the time. I pretty much eyeball it, and I also there's a little wire guide here in this trimmer right down the center. So I eyeball, plus I'll use the wire guide just to kind of give me an idea of where I want to cut to create a certain thickness of the border. So I did that, and then I ended up doing the exact same thing. So I ran this through my machine with one of the other rectangle dies so that I've got just the outside edge again. Set aside those other pieces. I can use that cardstock for something else, especially if you're new to stamping, and you're just getting the kits. You don't have a lot of cardstock or pattern papers. This is a great way to get some extra mileage out of your papers and yeah, I don't do it all the time because I have a ton, obviously, doing this professionally. But it's also a good way too to lighten up your cards if you like to layer a lot. It doesn't create as much bulk and as much weight so that you don't have to pay as much for shipping. So yeah, anyway, layered all that together, popped it onto my card front, which is heavyweight white cardstock that comes in the kit. And then to finish off the inside, I chose the stamps I wanted to use. So I stamped the It's No Secret sentiment from the set with the same intense black ink. And then there's a circle stamp in the set. So I inked that up with the same tumbled glass distress ink to create my little bit of a background. And then over that, I stamped the word You're Amazing with the intense black ink. And then in the kit comes these super fun scratch off stickers that are sized to go with that stamp set, like the stamp set was sized to go with these stickers. So I adhered that over top of that little sentiment and then stamped the scratch off and the little arrow. And I'm going to show in a minute how this looks like when you give it to your recipient. So much fun. I'm loving these scratch off stickers. So as a final bit of embellishment, I'm using the Silver Blizzard Crystal Nouveau or Silver Moondust Crystal Nouveau drops to create some fun silvery glittery enamel dots basically. So just applied those to my card front and I'm going to let those completely dry and they'll be good to go. So that is my card for today. I will have links to everything in the description box below the video as well as on my blog. So check that out below if you're interested. And definitely check out these scratch off stickers if you're not getting, if you don't have the kit or it's not, you're not subscribed. I highly recommend that you do. These are really fun. So I grabbed a dime from my wallet so I could scratch this off and show you guys. And I'm going to remove this and then reapply it when I give this to someone. But how fun is this? Like it scratches off perfectly. So really, really fun. I think these are just so cool. So as always, all links will be below if you guys are interested. Thank you all so much for watching and I will see you all next time in another video. Bye.